Okay, so we're going to get started just to respect people's time. Again, my name is Sonia Wild-DeFries, she, they. I want to welcome everybody. Some practical things. Toilet is over on that side. There is a table with food, both sweet and savory, that Dr. Lena Yassin brought, and she made the sweets. And then there's a table with books, and all of the profits will go to La Casita and Sunbirds today. So please check those out. But even more important, there's a long list of organizations that you can get engaged with. So check that out. It's on the, what do you call it? The brochure. Yeah. Okay. Great. I want to thank the people who set up the art, which is amazing. If you ever question the power of art, and I think this display and art like this has been at so many of our events and has made it so much more powerful. So a big hand to the artists in our midst. And thanks to the folks who set up. Thank you to Community Defense, helping to keep us safe in here. For the people who have done promotion, and for this beautiful brochure that Andrew did. Thank you. All right, I wanted to ask people to please put their phones on silent. I know we always forget that, and it is such a bummer when phones suddenly go off in the middle of a performance. So, falling in love with resistance. It is so important for us in these times, in any times, to come together as community, collectively. Cultural work and expression is so much a part of organizing, of healing, of inspiration. And so thank you everybody for being here for this. And I wanted to say something about the two groups that are benefiting. The first is La Casita Center, which I suspect most people in here are very familiar with. But I'll just read a little excerpt what I got off their website. Building a thriving community based on mutual support and respect with social justice for all, empowering immigrant families, creating a foundation for systemic change. And you know, to me, that's the perfect combination of things we need to be doing. The mutual support for each other, especially because so many more people are falling on hard times. Shout out to our federal workers, some of whom are with us. And Karma Val Marshall, one of our performers, couldn't be here because the air traffic controllers, there weren't enough air traffic controllers, so she's stuck in another state. She's trying to make it back here for the performance. That is a direct consequence. And the other group that the donations are going to are the Gaza Sunbirds. Who's heard of the Gaza Sunbirds? Okay, not very many people. Okay. So the Gaza Sunbirds came about because there was a championship bike rider, Alaa Al-Dali, and he was involved in the peaceful, nonviolent protest in 2018, the walk of return that the Israelis, of course, responded with violence to. And his leg was shattered by a bullet. And instead of being defeated, he started the Gaza Sunbirds, which is a paracycling team. They have been in Gaza delivering humanitarian aid. Look them up, like you'll see them cycling through the rubble with aid. They've been helping with tents, they're frontline responders, and then outside of Gaza, they've been plugging people into paracycling who are coming out of Gaza because there are so many injured people, and fitting them with bikes made for them, with rehab and with community support. And their slogan is, "We don't just ride, we broadcast resistance." I just think that's beautiful. So we are going to get started with our first poet, Marcos Morales. They is a first-generation Chicanx Louisvillian who is a community organizer of wellness, change, and abolition through the art of political education, relationship, healing, fabric, photography, and poetry. And welcome, Marcos. Also wanted to say, any performers, if you have some activity or action to invite folks to and you want to add that to what you have to say, please do.
Great, thank you for that, Sonia. Good evening or good afternoon. As Sonia said, my name is Marcos Gabriel Morales Gutierrez. You all can hear me pretty, or is it this? Okay. So yeah, just let me know if I need to speak up, okay? Yes, and so today, what I want to bring you all is a piece that I wrote in 2020, and this was a piece that I dedicated to my mom, and it was something. It's written from the perspective of so my roots are in Michoacán, Mexico, and I was born and raised here, but very much with the Pueblo teachings of Michoacán and Tarimoro and Irimbo, where my parents are from, and so they were economically displaced. They're now up here right for about 35 years now, and my mom is yet to return since 2004, and so and as her child, I believe, right, I'm only as seen as the people who raised me, and as a 33-year-old, I feel really fortunate being able to speak in front of you all, because people who walk next to me, a lot of them aren't here; they're in other places, and so with that. So this was kind of me coming into my own voice, and you can still hear my voice tremble, because this is still something I'm coming into. I didn't grow up having a lot of words, truthfully. I grew up dealing with things in other ways, and so this is called Yeso. And first I'm going to read it and translate it, because it's mainly in Spanish, so for the non-Spanish speakers here, I'm going to do my best to make sure I can deliver this to you all as well. So, Yeso, which means prayer. Ya van muchos años sin verte. It's been a lot of years since without seeing you. Algunas flores ya no florecen. There are some flowers that no longer flourish, that no longer bloom. Las lomas preguntan por ti. The hills ask for you. La tierra llora con sus pozos. The earth cries with its puddles. Y yo me pregunto a mí, and I ask myself, ¿que en dónde estás? Where are you? ¿Y por qué no visitas? And why don't you visit? ¿Y por qué todo migra menos tú? And why everything migrates but you don't? Por ahí te mando unas monarcas. So from there I'm sending you some monarchs. Deja que te den mis besos. Let them give you my kisses. Estamos debajo del mismo cielo. We are under the same sky. Hay días en donde te siento en los vientos. There are days when I feel you in the winds. Y yo me pregunto a mí, and I ask myself, ¿en dónde estás? Where are you? ¿Y por qué no visitas? And why don't you visit? ¿Y por qué todo migra menos tú? And why everything migrates and you don't? Por ahí te mando unas monarcas. I'm sending you some monarchs. Deja que te den mis besos. Let them give you my kisses. Estamos debajo del mismo cielo. Hay días we are under the same sky. Hay días en donde te siento en los vientos. There are days when I feel you in the winds. Sigue plantando tus semillas. Keep sowing your seeds. Yo aquí te espero. I'll wait for you here. And so the way that the way that this is the sung version of it now in Spanish, and again, this is written from if Earth could talk from Tarimoro y Rimbo, it's written from that perspective. So, verso. Ya van muchos años sin verte, algunas flores ya no florecen, las lomas preguntan por ti, la tierra llora con sus pozos, y yo me pregunto a mí, que en dónde estás y por qué no visitas y por qué todo migra menos tú, por ahí te mandan las monarcas, deja que te den mis besos, estamos debajo del mismo cielo, allá es donde te sientan los vientos, y yo me pregunto a mí, que en dónde estás y por qué no visitas y por qué todo migra menos tú, por ahí te mandan las monarcas, deja que te den mis besos, estamos debajo del mismo cielo, allá sin te sientan los vientos, sigue dando tus semillas, yo aquí te espero, yo aquí te espero, yo aquí te espero, yo aquí te espero. And I will leave you all with the words of the late Berta Cáceres, who said, sabía que íbamos a triunfar, me lo dijo el río. I knew that we were going to win, the river told me.
Thank you so much, Marcos. That was really beautiful and heartbreaking, and it just makes me think of the very real ways that capitalism and imperialism affect people's lives and break up nations and families and communities. It's just so beautiful. Thank you. Okay. So, now we're going to a slightly different genre. Sarah French, PhD, she/they, is a poet and cognitive scientist, studying how our brains shape our beliefs. Her current research investigates the neural and cognitive roots of authoritarianism in the Trump era, focusing on links between handedness, cognitive rigidity, and ideological conviction. So Dr. Sarah French is going to stimulate our minds before we hear the rest of the poetry and music. Thank you, Sarah.
Hi. As Daniel said, I'm Dr. Sarah French, and I am so happy to be with you all today. Thank you all for your donations that benefit the Gaza Sunburns and La Casita for Karen Rule. So a lot of the people here tonight are poets. I am a poet. I'm also a cognitive scientist, and I'm here in my capacity as a scientist today. I'm to talk to you a little bit about some things that are relevant to my own research and are relevant to the struggle that we're all engaged in right now. Shadow, could you help me move this up? I'm really tall.
I'll be upset for my height.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I sound quite tall. I'm also terrified of crowds, so bear with me. I'm here to talk to you today about psychological mechanisms that keep compassionate, well-intentioned people that you know, your neighbors, complicit in the face of cruelty and suffering. The first tool of authoritarian psychology is fear, and fear is accomplice dehumanization. When people are afraid, their brains shift into self-protection mode. The amygdala, which is a little almond-shaped organ deep in the brain, takes charge, and empathy tends to shut down. Fear can make cruelty feel necessary for safety. Dehumanization is the story that fear tells to justify itself. They're not like us. They're dangerous. They brought this on themselves. Once people are seen as less than human, any violence against them can be reframed as necessary or even righteous. You've seen this. You've seen it in the language used about immigrants at the border. You've seen it used against Palestinian civilians under bombardment and organized famine. about anyone made into a symbol of threat. But the antidote to dehumanization is deceptively simple. It is rehumanization. It is the deliberate, repeated act of seeing and naming someone's humanity, especially when the world has reduced them to something less. That can mean telling a personal story, looking at a photo long enough to remember the name that goes with it, refusing to let statistics replace real human faces full of rich experience. It's not sentimental, and it's not self-indulgent. It's strategic. Neuroscientists have found that even brief, empathetic engagement, just a few seconds of genuine perspective taking, reactivate the brain's social circuits that fear shuts down. The second tactic that authoritarian systems rely on is obedience, the quiet, contagious kind. Humans are social creatures, and we are hardwired to look around and ask, what are the other people doing? What's everyone else doing? And that's called normative conformity. And it's important for communities, but it's also powerful enough to override conscience. Add an authority figure giving orders, a cop, a boss, the government, and suddenly good people are participating in systems that they would never consciously endorse. We also fail to intervene when we see injustice at times because we think that someone else is better equipped to handle it. You may have been in this situation yourself where you want to help, but you feel surely there's someone who has the skills. We call this diffusion of responsibility. We originally studied this in the context of health crises, like we staged someone suddenly collapsing on the sidewalk in a public place. But it happens in all sorts of situations. And the thing about diffusion of responsibility is the more people that there are involved, the less likely any individual is to act. If only one person was around in our studies, they almost always helped. But when there were several people, most did nothing. Everyone waited for someone else. Authoritarian systems thrive on that pause, that inaction. So the counter move is simple, but it isn't easy. The antidote is conscious disobedience. That means noticing the moment your body says, don't make trouble, and choosing deliberately to make trouble. Replacing someone should really do something with it's me, I'm the one who should do something. Psychological science has also shown us that just one visible act of disobedience, just one dissenting voice, is enough to shift an entire group's perception of what is normal. I want to share two stories of resistance that you might know, but maybe you don't. In the 1980s, refugees were fleeing US-backed death squads in Central America. And when they reached the United States, our government started rounding them up and turning them back. But communities are so powerful, just like this one that we're in today. Over 500 interfaith congregations opened their places of worship. They hid families, they drove them across state lines in the dead of night, they faked marriages, just to keep people safe, to keep them from being deported. These were deeply ordinary people, but they refused to comply. The government called this a criminal conspiracy. But it worked, because it was sustained. It was sustained collective defiance. And it helped pressure Congress to create the temporary protected status that still saves some people today. And just a few years ago, in May of 2021, Palestinians across Gaza, the West Bank, and within Israel's 1948 borders, coordinated something that a lot of people, even people like us, very hopeful, progressive people, assume is impossible. They organized a single day of silence. No work, no buses, no courts, nothing. For one day, millions of people, separated by checkpoints, laws, and walls, acted in unison. They did not pick up weapons. They simply stopped participating in the machinery of their oppression. It was collective withdrawal, and that's the power of saying you cannot function without our consent. Authoritarian systems are generally quite well equipped to handle violence. What they can't handle is mass refusal. When people across communities collectively say, we're not going to perform your version of reality. And that's resistance as a cognitive process. People declaring, you do not get to define me. These examples remind us that meaningful disobedience is defiance with clarity. It's people remembering who they are and what they value in systems that try to make them forget that. But clarity is fragile, and authoritarian powers know that. When fear stops working, authoritarian powers often use noise. They bury us under information, outrage, and contradiction. This is happening to us every day. And the third tactic I'll describe is overload. It's the most modern, and it is so very easy, thank you, social media. Authoritarian systems thrive on chaos. When the brain is flooded with too much information, too much pain, too much urgency, it shuts down. Psychologists call this cognitive fatigue, and it's the point where attention just collapses. When attention collapses, so does agency. People stop acting not because they don't care, but because they are simply overwhelmed. The antidote is intentional focus. Protecting your cognitive bandwidth is revolutionary hygiene. You've probably heard before that rest is resistance. That means choosing what you attend to. You don't have to know everything to act meaningfully. Pick an issue, a community, just like you did today, coming here. But stay with that momentum to make it done. Make it last longer than today. As writer Adrienne Marie Brown puts it, small is good, small is all. And when despair comes, despair will come over and over and over and over again. Remember, it's not a sign that you're losing the fight, it is a sign that you're still in it. You still care, you're still paying attention. Despair is empathy, bruised against the hard surface of oppression. So rest, organize, and then come back. So, fear, obedience, despair. These are the tools that authoritarian regimes use against us all the time. And these are the things that I study every day. These are three weapons of control, and they're each aimed at our nervous system just as much as they are at our souls. Authoritarianism counts on fatigue. It counts on compassion turned to numbness. It counts on people convincing themselves that someone else surely is better positioned to act. But we can train our minds. That's what I want you to know today. We can train our minds, and we can train each other's minds to counter these tactics. Resistance is psychological skill applied to our moral and ethical lives. It begins in the mind. Thank you all so much for being here. All power to all the people from the bottom up and Free Palestine. Lastly, because Sonia said I could do this, I am an organizer for the General Strike. If you're interested in the General Strike, please come talk to me after. I have some information and I have some strike cards. So,
All right. Strike. Definitely wonderful, powerful. Thank you, Sarah. That was actually incredibly poetic and inspiring, so I appreciate it. Awesome. Whew. And yes, this is one reason why it is so important for us to be together like this, to counter that, to make the connections. And if you are a person who is here and you're not engaged in any kind of organizing, check out some of the organizations that are here. Maybe none of them fit what you feel like your strength is. Come talk to me. I love talking to people about organizing and where they might fit in. Come talk to anybody who's willing here who's an organizer. Okay. Oh, I did want to mention, because I forgot, we're raffling off 2 books back there. We Have Always Been Here, which is about queer Muslims, and the other one is The Perfect Victims. And The Perfect Victims is a book that I think every organizer needs to read. It is so powerful. It's based on the Palestinian experience, but it's about the politics of appeasement and how we have let the people in power create this narrative where we have to prove the goodness and the nobleness of oppressed people before they're allowed to have their liberation. It's really powerful because it shows the insidious ways that it's seeped into our organizing. So write your name and put it in the big ugly sun hat back there, and you might win the book. All right, this next person, I have never heard their work, so I'm very excited. Olivia A. Cole is a writer from Louisville whose books have received numerous honors, long listed for the National Book Award, LA Times Book Prize nominated, Kirkus Best Books of the Year, New York Public Library Best Books of the Year, Bank Street Best Books of the Year, and more. And her books, some of them are back there for whatever you want to pay, and the money will go to La Casita and the Gaza Sunbirds. So welcome, Olivia.
Hey, good to see everyone. Thank you, Sonia, for organizing this. Thank you to your poetry. Really needed that today. Thank you. And Sarah, thank you for all of your words. I'm really glad when people can speak about the nonfiction side of things. I'm only a creative. I'm not good at that side, but everything you say, I'm like, yes, that's in my books, just not like that. As Sonia said, some of those books are back there. One is a really obnoxious, hey, baby, that's one of my former students right there, another brilliant poet. You got something, they're missing a performer, so if you got something that's on, that's one of the greatest students I ever had right there. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, so I have some books back there, including a hideous rom-com that I co-wrote with a friend this year actually, that's a brand new book. And again, those are pay whatever you want. So if you got a buck, get a book, and the money goes to who it should go to. I've been writing fiction for the past, 10 years. I haven't written poetry for quite some time. So I'm going to read two of mine that I wrote just for myself recently, so be kind. Because these are really just journal poems. But I wrote these two, and I'm going to read one by June Jordan. Let's see. I forgot staplers exist, apparently. The first is called Perimenopause. Every year a little crueler, do more with less. It's more and less complicated than you thought, those inner workings, the hulking mammalian doom, and skulking behind it, hollow hope, things simply better, or at least not worse, by the time your uterus-having child or daughter, sticky-handed shadow, is old enough to recognize the knock of autumn when it's as tired of waiting as you, mother, are. You hope the science catches up. You hope the world does. You hope that when she's 40 and she has a doctor who knows something, black girl in her black future, its astonishing arc from the sparkling past and all the million strange and determined cells which eventually became her body, and inside it that fist of blood and tissue they like to call a womb. As for you, somehow you learned that the blood stops. There was your mother's mutter, the fanning. You learned from jokes how you'll dry up like Phoenix, dry up like Los Angeles, like every place. The jokes were funny when they were about old women because, like the children, we want them to shut the fuck up. You get old sooner than you think. You learn from memes, not physicians, how you and the planet will both overheat. You had a doctor who suggested your UTIs were bad hygiene, and you laughed about this with your girlfriend at your big age, she said, and like cranberry isn't proverb, front to back, pee after, your mother cautioned, when you were old enough for her not to hate you for it. And still she couldn't say the word that came after the word after. Turns out it's the estrogen. It craters. Then the walls of the urethra thin, flesh to paper, brittling bones. Did you know when your cholesterol jumps, your doctor won't know why? Even the good lady you've seen since you were 30, she doesn't know that this too is the estrogen. 6 billion years to evolve into this life-weaving thing, and still no one believes anything you say. I'm hot. I'm raging. My water feels wrong. You hunt down a doctor who's willing to order hormone replacement, and it's she who tells it. You know why they don't prescribe it, she says? They think women are children. You think about her when you watch the news, when you hear someone say that in Palestine there's no such thing as children. Then again, when the bombs drop over Iran, and a guy tells Facebook that all those women can soon wear bikinis, which he believes is freedom. You think about her when you're washing dishes and the hot flash hits. Even with the 1 milligram of estrogen and the 100 milligrams of progesterone, it hits. Your daughter is 7, and you're thinking about how hot menopause would be while carrying her out of a burning house. She's tall for her age, unusually so, and a black girl. When she cries, the camp counselor sees all those inches, feet that fit your shoes. She's too old for so many tears. A woman is a child until a child is a woman, and you are neither. But even with the estrogen, you piss strangely, like my bladder is scared, you tell your best friend. Maybe it is, she says. What does the body learn from itself? She teaches yoga and can say things like this. She's not a mother yet, but next year she will be, and you worry about her joints on those stairs, pregnant in winter. It's so cold in Minnesota. But she says that at least if she miscarries, Minnesota won't put her in jail. Adriana Smith will give birth any day now, she reminds you. Brain dead, but the oven's still on. You can't even think of ovens. The heat. Even the dishwasher is too much. You eat cold chicken, you bake nothing. You're becoming useless, and there are no children in Palestine? Your uterus is emptying, and God is a doctor. Did you know that an oven can burn down a house? Did you know you're not too young? Under your belt, a billion years. You don't have to be a mother. I want you to watch your mouth shape those words. Look at my lips, ape me. You're on fire. You're raging. Your water feels strange. There are children in Palestine. The world is not a womb. With one, the blood stops. Second song. Poem for Hind Raja. This poem makes me very sad. Mother's Day. My daughter has chosen earrings for me. She chooses watermelon. I wear them right in this poem. I wear them always. A child knows what we teach them, what we speak and don't speak. I speak Palestine. For Hind, I wish you olives. For Hind, I wish you watermelon. This poem is for Hind and for her mother. This poem is for Hind and her father. This poem is for Hind and her many uncles. Chase said revolution is not an apple that falls when it is ripe. You have to make it fall. I say revolution is not a watermelon that opens alone. You must crack it. And when I say revolution is a watermelon, because Palestine speaks it. This is what we teach our children. What I teach mine. Che said, if you tremble with indignation at every injustice, then you are a comrade of mine. He said, if you tremble with indignation at every injustice, then you are a comrade of mine. A child knows what you teach them, what we speak and don't speak. I speak watermelon. I speak the name of Hind Raja, of her father and her mother and her many uncles. Hind, I wish you olives. Hind, I wish you olive trees. Let them grow wherever we walk. Let us plant them. And then the last one is again by Drew Buehler. Intifada Incantation. Yeah. She's the best. And it's written in all caps, but if I yell it, I'll probably cry really loud, and we don't need that. I said I loved you, and I wanted genocide to stop. I said I loved you, and I wanted affirmative action and reaction. I said I loved you, and I wanted music out the windows. I said I loved you, and I wanted nobody thirst and nobody cold. I said I loved you, and I wanted justice under my nose. I said I loved you and I wanted boundaries to disappear. I wanted nobody roll back the trees. I wanted nobody take away daybreak. I wanted nobody freeze all the people on their knees. I wanted you. I wanted your kiss on the skin of my soul. And now you say you love me and I stand despite the trillion treacheries of sand. You say you love me and I hold the longing of the winter in my hand. You say you love me and I commit to friction and the undertaking of the pearl. You say you love me. You say you love me. And I begin to believe maybe you do. I am tasting myself in the mouth of the sun. Thank you all.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Very moving. And I can't believe we don't know each other because, like, somebody quoting Che Guevara and reading June Jordan. How do we not know each other? Okay. Is Elizabeth Colon here? Nelson? Elizabeth Colon Nelson? No. Okay. All right. So this next person who's coming up, here you are, Dr. Lina Yassin. I have had the honor of knowing for these last couple of years. No, I'm getting emotional. She's a Palestinian American with roots from the city of Nablus. She is an adult endocrinologist in Louisville, Kentucky, and an amazing and beautiful friend and activist. Thank you, Lina. I don't know if I can call myself an activist.
Are you kidding me?
An incidental activist.
The best kind.
So I don't write poems, but I chose two poems that really spoke to my soul. I'm an Arab, Muslim, Palestinian woman. I guess, if I add a person of color, that would be like, the most attacked probably, by authoritarianism, So this poem is actually written by one of the actresses who was in the movie of Hind Rajab. So, Miss Kilani. I am a woman of Arab descent. I speak in English, but I dream in Arabic. And what a scene I paint with my accent. My skin is flawed with history. My blood flows like my destiny. I believe in what's written for me, but you believe lies tied to my identity. How unlucky for you. How unlucky for you. But what can I do? Do I pacify the situation? Hide behind good vocab and high-level education? Tiptoe on my tippy toes until my toes tap out one day so you do not feel insulted by who I am or what I say? I'll tell you this. تحت كل حجرة وتحت ظل كل شجرة بشوف ذكريات ستي وجدي فكل ما تسألوني انت مين رح احكي لكم عن قوتهم وكيف احفادهم صامدين. Under every rock and in the shadow of every tree, I see the memories of my grandfather and grandmother. So every time you ask me, who are you? I'm going to tell you about their strength. I'm going to tell you about their grandchildren who have remained. The second poem is by Rafiq Ziada. I think everyone knows her quote, "We teach life, sir, we teach life." But this is a different poem that she wrote. And here is how it goes. Allow me to speak my Arab tongue before they occupy my language as well. Allow me to speak my mother tongue before they colonize her memory as well. I am an Arab woman of color, and we come in all shades of anger. اتركني أتحدث بلغتي العربية قبل أن يحتلوا لغتي أيضا. اسمح لي أن أتحدث بلغتي الأم قبل أن يستعملوا ذاكرتها أيضا. أنا امرأة عربية اللون ونأتي بكل أطياف الغضب. All my grandfather ever wanted to do was wake up at dawn and watch my grandmother kneel and pray in a village hidden between Jaffa and Haifa. My mother was born under an olive tree on a soil they say is no longer mine. But I will cross their barriers, their checkpoints, their damn apartheid walls and return to my homeland. I am an Arab woman of color, and we come in all shades of anger. And did you hear my sister screaming yesterday as she gave birth at the checkpoint while the Israeli soldiers next to her were looking for the next demographic threat? She called her baby girl Janine. And did you know Amina and Muna screaming behind their prison bars as they tear-gassed their cells? They said, "We are returning to Palestine. I am an Arab woman of color and we come in all shades of anger. But you tell me this womb inside of me will only bring you your next terrorist?" Beard-wearing, gun-waving, towel-head, sand nigger. You tell me I sent my children out to die? But those are your copters, your F-16s in our skies. And let's talk about this terrorism business for a second. Wasn't it the CIA that killed and who trained Osama in the first place? My grandparents didn't run around like clowns with white caps and white hoods on their heads, lynching black people. I'm an Arab woman of color and we come in all shades of anger. So who's that brown woman screaming in a demonstration? Sorry, should I not scream? I forgot to be your every Orientalist dream. Genie in a bottle, belly dancer, harem girl, soft-spoken Arab woman. Yes, master, no, master. Thank you for your peanut butter sandwiches raining down on us from your F-16s, master. Yes, my liberators are here to kill my children and call them collateral damage. I'm an Arab woman of color and we come in all shades of anger. So let me just tell you, this womb inside of me will only bring you your next rebel. She'll have a rock in one hand and a Palestinian flag in the other. I'm an Arab woman of color. Beware, beware my anger. Thank you.
I wanted to give a big shout out to Jackson, who has been so amazing. Hosting this place and setting up the sound, and last time we had to cancel because there was a bullet that came through before we got here, and just really, really appreciate you and your calm and steady persistence. So thank you. I am gonna read this is very strange. I'm gonna read a couple poems. We're missing two of our performers. I think I mentioned that one of them is stranded because of the federal shutdown. She's waiting for a plane, waiting for the air controllers. So I'm going to read from this book, Planting a Garden in Baghdad. And I forgot. Oh, can someone bring the hat up from back there too? In 2002, there was one of the many sieges of the Israeli army on Bethlehem, and my mother was in the West Bank at the time, and I remember I turned on the TV to see, what was going on, and I saw this woman with dark hair marching in front of a tank, and I was like, oh my God, that's my mother. But, so I was glued to the news for that reason, but also because Palestine, I grew up with Palestine. And the Israeli military, as always, was telling all kinds of lies, but the most incredible one was that they said the Palestinians had actually killed other Palestinians and left their bodies strategically so they could pretend like the Israeli army had done it.
And of course, every Palestinian was a gunman, so I wrote this poem, The Palestinian Gunman. And the quote from BBC was, "Today, Israeli military reported killing 50 gunmen in Nablus. 200 Palestinian gunmen are still hiding in the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem, and hundreds more in Gaza and Jenin." A little known fact about Palestinian gunmen is that they are shapeshifters. Each moment they appear in a different form. As a teenager, ringing the bell of a church at noon, a boy hiding in his father's arms, a child on his way to school. Just the other day, a gunman appeared as a priest. Several shape-shifted into ambulance drivers and Red Crescent workers. One of them managed to appear as an Italian journalist. Amazing, these Palestinian gunmen. They masquerade as refugee camps, mosques, and churches, arms spread to blend with the cross, a shoulder blade, becoming the dome of a mosque. But the Israeli soldiers are not fooled. They see the Palestinian gunman's face breaking through the roots of a sage bush. And then I'm going to read the title poem. Is Anna McMichael here? She said she was going to come, and she asked me to read this poem, but she's not here. All right. Anyway, I wrote this during the time when the U.S. was bombing Baghdad. Planting a garden in Baghdad. Ours was a land of dates and pomegranates. Now the pomegranates are heads split open that spill seed into the road. I've tried to plant them in hope they will grow back, but the earth is full of metal. Shrapnel seedlings sprout up everywhere. Napalm makes poor compost. Its burning heat kills the seeds. Tanks eat my flowers because there is no food. I've tried using rebar for fencing, but scraps of flesh hang there. Discourage the root development. I watched the display of phosphorus over my city. Its spray of luminosity, enough light to garden by or burn, whichever comes first. To read this poem by someone who is newly one of our ancestors, Assad Shakur. Assad Shakur was an amazing black revolutionary who was a Black Panther as well, and framed for the murder of a policeman and imprisoned here in the U.S. And she was freed by a group of comrades, black and white, who managed to get her out of the hospital prison, out of the country, and she lived the rest of her life, many decades, in Cuba, protected by the Cuban government. And this poem, I come to it over and over because Assad knew true hardship. And in her, in the history, in the generations, and in her life, and yet she remained one of the most hopeful, positive people. And I think we can remember that so many have come before us, that we can be inspired by here in this country, revolutionaries here in this country and around the world, and we can learn from them. Affirmation. I believe in living. I believe in the spectrum of beta days and gamma people. I believe in sunshine, in windmills and waterfalls, tricycles and rocking chairs. And I believe that seeds grow into sprouts and sprouts grow into trees. I believe in the magic of the hands and the wisdom of the eyes. I believe in rain and tears and the blood of infinity. I believe in life. And I have seen the death parade march through the torso of the earth, sculpting mud bodies in its path. I have seen the destruction of daylight and seen bloodthirsty maggots prayed to and saluted. I have seen the kind become the blind and the blind become the bind in one easy lesson. I have walked on cut glass. I have eaten locked by the lawless, handcuffed by the haters, gagged by the greedy, and if I know anything at all, it's that a wall is just a wall, nothing more. It can be broken down. I believe in living. I believe in birth. I believe in the sweat of love and the fire of truth. And I believe that a lost ship steered by tired, seasick sailors can still be guided home to port. So I hope that people take the words and the passion and the commitment in this room and take it in and let it guide your life. And I also hope that you'll stick around because we still have some more time. There's still food. We can talk to each other, talk to someone who's read here, talk to each other, find out what people are doing, what organizing is going on. There's tables back there full of organizing stuff. So let's build community. We need each other. It's the only way that we are going to be able to transform this moment. And I remember that Ann Braden, civil rights activist Ann Braden, used to say that the worst moments in history are also the best for organizing. And I think it's true, and I think right now we have an opportunity to create something different that's truly liberatory. Not to go back to a time when some people were kind of free, but to really break through, use this moment to create something completely different and get rid of this capitalist, imperialist system, this white supremacy and patriarchy and all these words, so that we can create something different, something real where all of us are free. So thank you for coming, and thank you everybody.